Here are the introductions that we have reviewed on the two articles. Moving on to the purpose and significance. The purpose of this work is to shine a light on the limitations of current sociolinguistic research, which often focuses narrowly on Western countries and languages. Additionally, it wants to emphasize the importance of local languages in Nigeria, recognizing that they play a vital role in connecting communities and fostering social unity. This work is significant because it highlights the need for a shift in sociolinguistic research toward a global perspective. Moving on to the review of current research. Labour's pioneering research emphasized the importance of social stratification and the quantification of linguistic variation, setting a methodological standard for subsequent studies. Scholars like Dunelli have highlighted the importance of local languages in fostering social awareness and action. Next, English as a global language provides an extensive overview of how English has gained its international status, outlining its implication for language education and cultural identity. In the Nigerian context, scholars like Nuneli have highlighted the importance of local languages in fostering social awareness and action. Nuneli's argument that audiences often prefer their native language resonates with recent findings by Agia, who discuss how the dominance of English can marginalize local languages and cultures. Moving on to controversial or diverging hypotheses. Standardization versus linguistic diversity. Another area of contention lies in the relationship between linguistic standardization and diversity. In the global north, the focus on a dominant standard languages has implications for social stratification and identity performance. Next, language and identity. The relationship between language and identity is also a point of divergence. Some researchers, like Holmes, suggest that language is a crucial marker of social identity, shaping how individuals perceive themselves and are perceived by others. And lastly, main aim and principles conclusions. Global status of English. English has established itself as a global language, significantly influencing social interactions, technological advancements, and cultural exchanges across different regions. Next, impact on local languages. While English global dominance offers opportunities for international communication, it also poses challenges to local languages which may face mar- marginalization.
Hi everyone, my name is Nur Patricia Arya and I'm from BTE 0405. And today I will talk about Article Review 1. Article 1. Title of the article is Globalizing the Study of Language Variation and Change, Manifesto on Cross-Cultural Sociolinguistics by Arya Adli, Gregory R. Guy, 2022. Article Identification. This article titled Globalizing the Study of Language Variation and Change, a manifesto on cross-cultural sociolinguistics was published in 2019 and written by Arya Adli and Gregory R. Guy. Arya Adli is a well-known linguist and professor at Cologne University in Germany. Gregory R. Guy is a professor at linguistics at York University specializing in language variation and diversity. Summary of the article. Adli and Guy argue that sociolinguistics needs to expand beyond traditional frameworks, incorporating a cross-cultural approach that reflects globalization. They critique the focus on homogeneous language environment, suggesting that cross-cultural analysis can offer insight into how language and culture interact with today's world. The author proposed adopting methodology that combine quantitative and qualitative research, and they emphasize the importance of studying multicultural environment to capture the diversity of language variation. They also call for inclusive education policies that respect linguistic diversity and for sociolinguistic research to consider the voices of marginalized communities.
The second article title is The English Language and the Mass Media as Tools for Sustainable Development in Multilingual Nations. Article Identifications. Background of the author. The article was written by Dare Olabi and Charles Ikuchukwu-Nanji. Published on November 10, 2013, Dare Olabi works at Department of English and Literary Studies, Ekiti State University, Nigeria, and Charles Ikuchukwu-Nanji is from the Department of Linguistics and Nigerian Language, University of Ilorin, Nigeria. Their research focused on how English and mass media help in national development, especially in multilingual countries like Nigeria. Next was the summary of the article. The article highlights the importance of the English language in promoting development in countries with many local languages, like Nigeria. According to the authors, local language often create barriers to national unity. English, which has grown from being a foreign language, EFL, to a second language, ESL, in many post-colonial countries, help united people and is essential in governance, education, and media. The author also explained that English is the only practical language for mass communication in Nigeria, as no local language is widely spoken enough to serve as a common language. Mass media, newspapers, television, and radio rely on English to deliver news and foster national development by spreading information and encouraging dialogue between the government and the public. Next, they also advocate for simplifying and localizing English, making it easier for most people to understand. This form of English, known as Nigerian English, should still follow basic grammar but reflect local nuance. The article stressed that role of mass media in sustainable development. It can spread information quickly and effectively across Nigeria's many ethnic and language groups. By using English, Nigerian media can reach wider audience and engage in a global conversation about social, economic, and technological process. The author gives example of media has used English to change public attitude and involve people in national causes. They argue that clear and simple language is key to ensuring that development messages are understood by the general populations. While local languages are important for cultural identity, they are not sufficient for mass communication in a multilingual society like Nigeria. Only English can serve the role effectively. The author urged journalists to continue using domesticated English to reach a broad audience and suggests that Nigerian English be further developed and standardized to help unify the country. Lastly, article conclude that English is a unifying language that can bring people together for national progress. In a multilingual country like Nigeria, English is essential for creating a more integrated society and supporting sustainable development.
This discussion focuses on the relationship between language and mass media, particularly in multilingual societies and the broader scope of sociolinguistic research. We will explore two key studies and Wallabi's and Naji's work on the role of English in Nigeria's media. Adli and Guy's manifesto on the need to globalize language studies. First, let's look at the effectiveness of the argument. Labis and Najee argue that multilingual countries like Nigeria, a common language, English in this case, is essential for mass communication and national development. They used Nigeria as a case study showing how English helps bridge linguistic divides, which is critical for societal progress. Adli and Guy, on the other hand, point out that social linguistic studies have historically focused on Western languages and regions, particularly English-speaking countries. They call for shift research towards underrepresented language and cultures is not only compelling but timely. Both studies provide thorough and useful insight, but their applicability differs. Awolabi and Najee provide a detailed history of English in Nigerian media from colonial times to the present. This makes their work highly relevant to the Nigeria, but it may have limited applicability to other countries with different linguistic dynamics. Adli and Guy offer broader insights by addressing the limitation of existing social linguistic research. Their manifesto calls for practical solutions such as diversifying research to include more languages and regions, making it highly valuable to scholars interested in expanding the field of linguistics beyond its current Western bias. Next, let's talk about the contribution each study makes. Awolabi and Najee contribute by providing a model for using English in mass media to foster national development in multilingual societies. This is especially useful for policymakers and media professionals in countries where multiple languages are spoken but unifying medium is needed. Other studies' core arguments offer different perspectives on language. Awolabi and Najee emphasize that English is crucial for national integration in Nigeria. The focuses that argue that without a common language like English, development efforts would face significant challenges due to the communication barrier in linguistic diverse society. Adli and Guy argue that social linguistics has been overly concentrated on Western nations. They call for a shift towards studying linguistic variation in non-Western languages and regions to gain a fuller understanding of global linguistic diversity. Next, let's take a look at the bias and objectivity. Analyzing potential biases is crucial for understanding each study's perspective. Awolabi and Najee show a slight bias towards endorsing English as primary language for national cohesion in Nigeria. While the argument is pragmatic, focusing on immediate benefits of English, they don't fully explore the potential of native languages or consider the social implication of prioritizing English over local tongues. Adli and Guy, however, offer a balanced critique. They acknowledge the Western bias in social linguistic research and advocate for its expansion without degrading the importance of current Western studies. Their objective stance promotes inclusivity in research without undermining existing work. Let's take a look at the agreement and disagreement with the authors. We can find points of agreements and disagreement with both sets of authors. Awolabi and Najee make a convincing case of unifying power of English in Nigeria. We agree that common language can indeed promote national unity, but they could have explored alternatives like bilingual policies or stronger support for native languages to preserve cultural heritage while fostering development. Adli and Guy's critique Western-centric focus in social linguistics is something we wholeheartedly agree with. As field continues to grow, it is essential to broaden research to include non-Western languages and cultures. This shift provides a more holistic understanding of linguistic variation across the world. And finally, let's take a look at the target audience. Awolabi and Najee are primarily addressing academics, media experts, and policymakers interested in the relationship between language and national development, especially in multilingual contexts like Nigeria. Their work is directly relevant to those shaping language policies and media practices. Adli and Guy speaks to sociolinguistic language scholars and researchers interested in expanding their studies beyond Western focus. The call for more inclusive research is aimed at academic and students eager to explore linguistic diversity in underrepresented regions.
This is the conclusion part. So, the two articles reviewed in this paper, which is Globalizing the Study of Language Variation and Change by Adli and Guy, and The English Language and the Mass Media as Tools for Sustainable Development in Multilingual Nations by Owolabi and Naji, focus on important aspects of sociolinguistics and language development in multilingual society. The first article underscores the need to go further on sociolinguistics paradigms which have been diagnosed as being more of the Western concept rather than a universal concept, by arguing that language variation needs to be discussed looking at globalization and multiculturalism. In the second article, the author expounds the role of any language in integrating multilingual nations such as Nigeria, particularly English in mass media as a tool towards sustainable development. In terms of clarity, both articles are effective in presenting their main arguments, but Owolabi and Naji's piece could benefit from broader applicability beyond Nigeria. The significance of Adli and Guy's call to diversify sociolinguistic research is especially crucial for advancing the field, as it challenges the Western bias in existing studies. The implications of these works are profound, particularly for policymakers and linguists, as they propose strategies for more inclusive research and language practices that promote national integration and sociolinguistic diversity. Future research could build on these suggestions to explore the practical implementation of bilingual laws or the promotion of native languages alongside English in multilingual societies.